right. I thought I'll give you my thoughts about this filmmaker. Her name is Aisha Sultana, and she's a filmmaker in Lakshadweep Islands near India, which is slightly away from India. And she has been charged with sedition. Okay. I thought I'll give you my views. I've been looking at the changes happening in India ever since BJP came in power. And yes, there are some positive changes which BJP has done and Modi has tried to do. Some have succeeded, some have failed. Do I consider him a strong leader? Yeah, pretty strong. Is he right now, among all the other politicians, is he the best? Probably, because if not him, the question is who? But now, having said that, the way things are going, I just feel that it is an abuse of power. It seriously is an abuse of power, and I'll tell you why. You remember the United States had a new law that came whereby it could spy on citizens and take all your information, whether you're chatting or on your phone, it could tap. And this was after the 9/11 bombing. And they came out with a series of laws and rules whereby you could spy on anyone. And this was for government security. Okay. And they gave it good names like the Patriot Act. Okay, or whatever. Now, this was a very smart marketing strategy. The reason being is, if you give it a term like Patriot, a Patriot Act, means if you agree with this law, you're a patriot. If you don't agree with the law, means you don't love the country. You're not a patriot. You're against the Patriotic Act. Just imagine how it sounds. You're against patriotism. And very intelligent move. And like, for example, Obamacare. It's called Obama Care. So they were trying to position Obama as someone who cares. And his policy that he introduced is caring. So just imagine if someone says, no, I'm against this law, or I'm against this policy. Oh, you don't care about people? So you see how it sounds? So when they have this word play, you can push your agenda by just playing around with these words. So now this lawmaker called this old politician is 64 years old. He's one of the guys who, I don't even know his name. I read it, but I can't remember. So he's Narendra Modi's close aide. It seems that he was a minister also of Gujarat. So this guy must be one of the top trusted advisors, has been appointed to oversee Lakshadweep. And now here's the funny thing. Okay, Lakshadweep is primarily more of a Muslim majority. Now, we know for a fact there have always been tensions between Hindus and Muslims in India. Okay. Now that doesn't go to say that all Hindus are good or all Muslims are bad or vice versa. We have seen this happen everywhere where there are majority and minorities. Israel and Palestine, Shia Sunni. Then even in Pakistan you have Muslims with Christians or Muslims with Hindus, Pakistani. Even in Sri Lanka you have Sri Lankan Buddhist or Sri Lankan Christians or Sri Lankan whatever versus Muslims. So wherever there's religion and wherever there are minorities, there's always this tension. So let's admit that. Okay. So now India, being primarily a Hindu nation, with so many Hindus, 80% are Hindus, they want to preserve their culture. They want to preserve their religion. And I'll tell you how the Hindu mentality is. They keep telling, the fact of the matter is, where Muslims go, they introduce Sharia law. Wherever Muslims go, they want their religion to be followed. Their practices. Oh, Islamophobia, if you criticize them. You can even see in Hollywood, they're saying, oh, we need more roles, diversity roles for Muslims. So there's a sense of entitlement that we see that Muslims tend to have in some countries. Just imagine these Afghani, Pakistani, all these guys who go to UK. And UK predominantly was a Christian country. UK predominantly had British, the actual white. Now if you go to UK, it's become, you'll think you have ended up in Bangladesh or Sri Lanka or India. You'll see all other nationalities, Africans, and yes, you can say it's multicultural, multi-diversity, all that. You can use multi-kulti and all that. But it has completely eroded the predominant culture that was there. Like even the United States was never white. There were never these white guys. They were red Indians and all this. They got rid of those people, and so came all the British and everyone else. So now United States is a totally different set of people there. Now even in India was predominantly Hindus and Muslims, and there was always tension between them, whether it was, the great Akbar or Aurangzeb or Mughal Empire or whatever. But however, now what they are trying to do is they are trying to preserve their Hindu culture, and they are trying to ensure that it is spread all over. Modi represents the Hindu culture. That's why even BJP, their logo is orange, their color is orange. It's a very saffron, it's a very Hindu kind of thing. Green, which is for Muslims or Pakistan or Saudi, green is for predominantly Muslims. I do not know what is Christians. Christians can be white, whatever. So by some coincidence, it's all in the flag of India. Now, when you have a 80% population, obviously the majority will vote for their own people who represent them, represent their values. So this is what is happening. And that is why if you actually look at it in Kashmir, which is predominantly Muslims, BJP has put a hold over there. And yes, you do have Pakistani infiltration, you have terrorists, you have people who want to break away, which I find very stupid. You're part of India, you follow Indian laws. But then Kashmir had its special ruling or laws agreed many, many years ago, which they enjoyed for quite some time. But now the BJP kind of overthrew that, and they put it under a censorship lockdown. Now comes Lakshadweep, another Muslim state where they want to ensure there's a clampdown or lockdown. Now, I understand what they're doing, and I know why they're doing it. However, I see a very dangerous precedent. The danger is now, okay, let's say you go to Lakshadweep and you do that. Then what prevents you from going to Kerala? It's a communist, predominantly, different set of religions and values and all that. So are you going to start converting the whole of India to a Hindu state, which is going to follow a North Indian style of doing things? And actually I see it going that way. And what is disturbing is, if you disagree, then you are an anti-national. You are an anti-patriot. You are against the nation. Modi's marketing team has created this narrative whereby if you don't agree with Modi or Modi's policies or Modi's laws or whatever, you are against the country. So it's not that you're against Modi, you're against the country. Like for example, this old politician, she called him a bio weapon. She just called him a name. It's like calling someone an idiot. Okay, you call the person an idiot or whatever. But does that mean if you call someone a name, you can be filed or categorized as being anti-national or going against the country? I mean, tomorrow if someone calls him a chutiye or, kutte or whatever, are you insulting the country? Yes, I don't support name calling, and you have known that. That's why when people comment, mostly our Indians, they tend to use names, bad words. Teri maa ki, tere ben ke, and your father, mother, this and that, and okay, which is part of, I guess, the culture of India, name calling. And that also they specifically target genitals. Okay, that's why, they'll always say the vagina or the dick or whatever, in Hindi or whatever. Now, I'm not a fan of name calling. I'm not a fan of, it doesn't make any sense. It's cheap language. But the point here is, for someone to state their opinion, has India reached that point where if you state your opinion, you can be, taken to court as for sedition? Isn't this manipulation of the rules? Isn't this using the loopholes of the system? Isn't this taking advantage of the system? I mean, let's look at it this way. The BJP, most of them call Rahul Gandhi Pappu. Pappu means, I don't know, I think it means idiot or dumb. Now, they can call him names, but they can't be called names. What kind of logic is that? So you can call names, you can criticize, your party can do all that, but the other side cannot do this. And then you have these terms that are being used. Oh, he's from Khalistan, or he's terrorist, or Pakistan, infiltration, Islamists. This name calling. And then the other side, Hindu Vista or Hindu extremism, or where do you stop, man? What I personally look at it as, Lakshadweep has its own identity. They have their own elected officials. They are poor people there. They're living a very quiet, remote life. All of a sudden, you have these outsiders coming in. It's like, imagine you're living a house with so many people and families, and you have outsiders coming in and telling you, okay, we want you to get out of this house, even though it belongs to you. Go stay somewhere else where we allocate. We want to commercialize this whole building and make money out of it. Is that right? You can associate various, it's for the benefit of the country. And no, it's not just benefit of the country. Let's stop acting dumb. Why do we call someone a politician? Because he's selfless? Or a politician also thinks of their own political interests, their own benefit? There is not a single politician, not a single one, who can be called a saint. All have their skeletons in the closet and all have their hidden agendas. We know for a fact that is a reality. We just prefer choosing the sinner that appeals to us the most. That's politics for you. Whether it's India, Pakistan, any country. You cannot succeed in the game of politics being a saint. So you have to play the game. That's why they say politics, office politics or whatever. So now, having said this, I just feel that the way things are going, it's not good. India calls itself a democracy, but is not behaving like one. It's behaving more like some of these Arab countries where there's a monarch, and if you criticize him, you will be destroyed. And personally speaking, most of the educated Indians, most of the Indians who are liberal minded and have traveled the world, they choose not to be in India. And if they do choose to be in India, I think they have only one option: keep quiet, shut up, act as if nothing happened. Why do you think Amir Khan, Salman Khan, Saif Ali Khan, all the actors, they don't talk politics? Because if you support one side, the other side will destroy you. So best is don't say anything, don't do anything. That is why when Modi asks all the actors to come, they will keep their head down and follow. If I was there and I get a powerful politician calling me, come to my gathering, if I would say no to him and I'm an actor, I can say goodbye to my career. And that's a fact. So I look at India as, what is happening right now is the abuse of power, to the extent whereby if you disagree with them, they'll make life miserable for you. And I'll tell you what my gut feeling says. The way things are going, you know, when you piss off people and make them angry and there is bottled hate, it spills over. And this in turn will cause more harm than good. It will cause more problems. I personally don't think the politicians care a damn, because at the end of the day, they have a limited run of 10 years, 20 years. They will fill their stomachs, they will fill their bank accounts, and then they'll hand it over to somebody else when time is up, and they'll go right off into the sunset. What you'll be left with is a mess for someone else to clean and cover and sort out. This is the reality of things. So what my advice would be is, you know what you have to do. Because at the end of the day, I can advise you, okay, don't keep quiet, fight for what is right, overthrow the tyranny, and I can say so many things. But I don't know you. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what are the challenges you'll face. It's very easy for me to stay in Thailand here and lecture and give you advice, fight out and this and that. It's very easy, but if I was in your shoes, I'd be very afraid. That's one of the main reasons why I'm glad I don't stay in India. Not because I think India is a bad place. It's because of problems like these that you have so... Hey, how are you, man? It's because of problems like this, you have so many complications, that it's better to stay away. More peace of mind, you know. And that's really the reason why I'm much better off not staying in India. Because at least I can give my opinions freely without being afraid that someone will file an FIR or threaten to put me in jail, or you'll get some, you call it gunda, or some, bully coming up to my house and threatening with a knife. And you can even see videos where if you have spoken against a politician, they gang up on you and they beat you, or they shave your head off, they slap you and say sorry for a social media post. And this is happening in not just India, so many places. That's why the best thing is, just stay out of trouble. So all I can tell you is, you do what you have to do, because you have to pay the price for it. Me personally, I see an abuse of power. I see an agenda that is being followed upon. And if it wasn't for BJP, if it was some other party in power, they would have had their own agenda. Like I tell people, nobody is a saint. Everyone has their own sins. So it's which sinner is doing more harm than good. So that's what I look at it. I just feel what is happening in Lakshadweep is wrong. I think the people should be left alone, and if the Supreme Court or they don't do anything, well, the poor man will lose everything, and I'm pretty sure after that they will try their game in other, it's like divide and conquer. Kashmir is done, Lakshadweep is done, maybe they'll target Calcutta next or Kerala next. Yeah. But I can assure you, the more they do this, the more the anger, the rage, the divisions, the lack of unity, we're going to see a lot more problems. So that's what I have to say. Let me know your thoughts, whether I'm right or wrong. It's me signing off. You guys take care.